what's happen now? Like, what's gonna happen with Hulkamania? What's gonna happen? Is Hulkamania dead? Is Hulkamania gone? You know what I mean? Like, that was the shocker of everything. That people started throwing trash at him. You know what I mean? So when you talk about moments like that, remember we mentioned about Ric Flair's retirement match, Goldberg's match, the other, and John Cena's return to the Royal Rumble. That was also a shocker. One of the most important moments I've seen too was at WrestleMania 10. Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, the first ever ladder match at WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
That match signified and paved the way for the rest of the ladder matches you've seen today. Why? Because these guys gave it their all for the Intercontinental Championship. That's what a lot of people don't fail to realize, that you can talk about the TLCs, you can talk about the Money in the Banks, but that's where it all started. At WrestleMania 10, that's where it all started, when those two fought, and it was a hell of a match. And you mentioned the Undertaker streak. You mentioned the Undertaker streak too. You know, that to this day, it's like, wow. Okay, friends, I do apologize. We're trying to get Bill Demont into the show. And my apologies, fans. My apologies. I'm sorry, we're having a little bit of difficulty. All right, Mr. Bill Demont, I'm sorry. I don't see your camera, sir. My apologies. Yeah, continue.
I remember this one moment that was like insane, and this was probably like one of the most biggest histories that was made in the WWE or WCW or whatever you want to call it. When Mick Foley got thrown off of the cage by Undertaker.
Oh yeah.
Everyone was like they thought this guy was gonna die. Like,
no, the way he threw him off a 15-foot high.
That's not even the point. The way he landed back first onto the table. Like, that has to take guts if you honestly could survive a big fall like that. And that's not even the first time. Well, that was the first time that's happened. But Mick Foley has been through that many times. So for that happening for this first time, that was a very impacting moment.
No, of course that was an impact. And then the thing is, when he went through the cage the second time, that was actually not scripted. Like, that was actually for real. Like, he fell through the cage. Hey, Michael Larkin, what's up? What's up, bro? Sorry, what's up, my man? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you supporting and watching the show. No, that wasn't scripted. He actually, the cage gave way, and he went through the cage. The chair fell through the cage, hit his nose, broke his tooth. His tooth was out of his nose. That's how bad it was. That the tooth went through his skin. And yet the man kept fighting. The man got thrown into tacks. Like, it was like, that was a holy shit moment. Like, wow. And when you mentioned earlier about Hulk Hogan surprised everyone when he came to WCW. He was always a WWE guy, but money talks. And that's what happened. Hulk Hogan took a grand contract. He got signed to a big, heavy contract and joined WCW. And then that's when everything changed from there. You understand? So it was amazing when you saw that.
Now, speaking of Hulk Hogan has another moment when he body slammed Andre the Giant. I'm pretty sure Hulk Hogan was one of the only men who could possibly do that, because Hulk Hogan probably at that time was the biggest man inside of the wrestling universe. So Hulk Hogan had to take all of his strength and power just to slam that one man. And Hulk Hogan, basically, he made it look easy. Like, he wasn't, struggling. His legs were shaking. He picked him up like he was a sack of potatoes. Like, it was easy. So that was what made it so crazy. Like, he made the slam look like it was nothing. Like,
no, absolutely. When you talk about who slammed Andre the Giant, of course, that was a historic moment in professional wrestling.
Honestly.
In WrestleMania 3, it was historic. And fans look around for WCW and WWE superstar.
Speaker. Welcome to the show, sir. It's an honor to have you.
I gotta take a class on how to figure this out. That was like the hardest thing I've ever done.
That's right. And I'm glad you're here, sir.
Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely.
So we've seen many good matches in WCW, from the lasting man, Hugh Morris, making your debut in WWE, making that moonsault, Lance Storm and everything.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
No, absolutely.
A lot, 30 years,
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this guy next to you is an encyclopedia. He should know all this stuff.
No, absolutely. I'm teaching him
about the basics and old school and all that stuff. So
good, man. Good for you.
Yep.
He's a big fan just like me. So I've been watching wrestling since I was 5. So I'm 37 now.
Well, I say, and a lot of the guys say to the people, and I probably say a lot of the fans don't hear it enough, but thank you, man. Thank you for keeping us employed. And keeping us doing what we're doing because, we just love being in front of, it sounds, I think a lot of people think it sounds corny, but I've always said it without the fans, we're just nobody. So thank you so much, man.
No, absolutely, man. I support wrestling 100%. I know you guys push the body through hell. You guys, the bumps, and whoever says wrestling is fake, they know what they can do. I'm not even going to say it on the air, but I've seen the bumps and bruises. I've seen what you guys go through. I've seen the injuries. And it's not for the faint of heart.
The funny part is, and you get to share that with, when you meet a lot of fans, because everybody will come up and say, I just want to say one thing. So I would always beat them to the punch and go, yeah, man, wrestling's fake. And they'd get so offended. They go, no, that's not what I was going to say at all. And so I get to have a laugh with them because, everybody wants to get that shot in. But, listen, it's like the movies. It's hard to see a 6'3", 300-pound plus guy beating up on Rey Mysterio and Rey Mysterio coming back like a superhero and knocking us all down. But that's TV and that's entertainment, and it's just a physical version of it. And, man, the bumps and bruises are all worth it. But always appreciate the conversation because sometimes people have great points of why it's not real. But my answer is much to your answer. I got the bumps and bruises to prove it, and I have trading cards. So if it wasn't real, I wouldn't have trading cards.
Absolutely. Listen, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
How did it
feel to be around the likes of The Undertaker, Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, Goldberg, The Rock? I know these guys were spectacular superstars. And what you did to put over Goldberg, I think that's beyond humble. And much respect to you for that, for opening the door for new talent.
Well,
how did that feel when you go into that?
First, thank you. But, and I've said this all along. I never felt like I was in a position to open the door for anyone. I was in a good position with Kevin Sullivan, who had enough faith in me that the match would be television worthy. I mean, it was Bill's first match on TV. I mean, great athlete, great attitude, I think the world of Bill then. I think the world of Bill now. Any chance I get to see him, I think is a great opportunity for him and I to catch up. He's a good man in and out of the ring. But I didn't pass the torch or open the door. I was just got lucky enough to get picked, and no one knew what was going to happen. And that all goes to Bill, and it all goes to Bischoff and everybody there who then put the rocket behind them. But anybody can get the rocket behind them, and if you don't know what to do with it, you don't become a legend. And Bill's a legend, and he knew what to do with it. I was fortunate enough to come from Japan and be there before Goldberg, and while Dwayne and Taker were doing their thing in the North, I was doing my thing in the South, and I got to run with Savage and Hogan and Flair and Sting and all those guys. And Austin had just left the territory before I got there and things like that. So when we had the opportunity to get with WWF at the time, that's how 2001 to get to start banging with those guys was just cool for me. I always looked at it as, man, this is cool, and you get to bang with those guys and know them and all locker room leaders and all great pros in and out of the ring. So I got to learn from them. I got to laugh with them. I got to work with them in the ring, and I got to know them outside the ring. So I thought, I think a lot of guys get to say, well, I had a match with The Rock, but I got to work with him for years. I got to work with Taker for years, and Hogan and Savage and Flair and all these guys. And then, fast forward to after my in-ring career, getting to work with Hunter and Shawn and all those guys. So what a great career. There's never a complaint from me about wrestling ever.
Right. It came to a point when you came into WWE. You guys did the WCW and ECW invasion.
Yeah.
How fun was that?
Well, for me, it was great because all those ECW guys were where I came from. So I got to see those guys again, and Dreamer and Taz and the Dudleys and Spike and and Rhino and Sandman and all those guys. So, and it was just, we were having fun. It was probably the funnest thing of them all. Working with Austin and Angle when they were doing those pre-tapes, and we came in and they combined the WCW and ECW guys. I think maybe a little too fast. I think we could have let that run a little bit longer separately, but it was a lot of fun. And at the time, let's face it, there was 200 plus guys looking for opportunities to be on TV. So I was fortunate enough to always be in the group that was on TV.
That's awesome, man. I actually enjoyed that angle, the invasion angle. And as you mentioned, I wish it could have went a little longer than it did.
Yeah, I think we had a good thing going, and as you tend to do in business anyway, but in wrestling is trying to stay in front of it. What do we got to do? Let's get there really quick. Don't forget they came in with 10, 11 of us who were considered mid-card talent. We weren't the top guys getting guaranteed money sitting home after WCW, was bought off. So we were considered the mid guys, and I think there was a little bit of panic of, is there enough star power? Is there enough to go? So I think they jumped the gun a little bit on that, but it was a lot of fun being number two, Lance being number one, me being number two. In the invasion was an honor, So if, I always say if I have a couple things I'm known for, one is Goldberg. Everybody puts me to that right away, and then with the invasion being number two. So if you got two things in your career people remember, I think that's pretty awesome. Hopefully, that's good, man. Number two.
No, listen, I was part of both of them. I saw both of them on Monday Night Show, and I saw it on when you guys made the invasion and Monday Night Raw. It was huge. It was a huge event.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I said things are actually picking up, and I'm glued to the TV every Monday night to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah, it was. You hear a lot of people talk about it. I had a great run, 6.5 years or something with WCW and Japan and Mexico and all the things that I got to do. but I think every kid's dream of wrestling is at least one time with WWF, WWE. So that night with the Invasion, I didn't sleep the night before. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. They didn't tell me. And then I was in the arena, kind of like just sitting there like, hi guys, you know, here I am. And the music hit, and I went out and did the run, and those people came unglued, and I was like, well, this is about the coolest thing you could ever do. So,
absolutely. And we actually have a question from a fan that's watching.
He's asking,
what did you enjoy more, wrestling or training new talent?
You know, there's nothing like being in front of 16,000 people. It's a little nerve-wracking, but I enjoyed doing my job. It just came naturally. But you get to see, and no trainer ever gets. I take that back. There's few trainers that ever get the reward of being thanked by everybody who's ever trained or anything like that. But in wrestling, the fact that I can look on the TV and go, man, I had a little something to do with her or do with him, or, you know, the conversations or the direction we went, or, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. I love training people. I love to see them make their mark and do what they set out to do. Whether they're successful for 20 years or they went in there for a couple of years and did it and ran as far as they could. I always say I love training more. I love the behind the scenes more, because that's my time is in the ring when I'm performing, you know, when I'm wrestling. But there's so much more to gravitate to in the back when you're working with talent and you're trying to get them to feel that thing and then to watch them do it. It's pretty gratifying to watch that.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Now, the topic that we're on today is the greatest, most significant moments and shocking moments in professional wrestling. My son had mentioned a few of them out there. Would you have one in mind that since you've been in professional wrestling, that's been the shocking moment or greatest, whichever one in professional history?
Well, I heard him talking about the, what was it, Foley with the tooth, right? Coming through the cage.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, including Mick, expected that. Included Taker. I just like all my, and I guess this is where I'm different from everybody. All my oh my goodness moments came from being part of the happening. When you're in the middle of the ring with Hulk Hogan in the main event, and you're raking his back. Something that you've seen 100 times from all his opponents, from Dino Bravo and, you know, Don Morocco and all those guys. And here I am, and I got that. Those were the oh my gosh moments for me. When I'm banging with Taker in the ring and I'm power slamming him, and then getting tombstoned, and those are the oh my gosh moments. You know, when you're getting you're doing your job and then you're getting the Rock's elbow. That's the oh my gosh moments. But I was always a big fan of when Kane came through the bottom of the ring. Taker came through the bottom of the ring when it was really unexpected. You know, in the middle of nothing. You know, here they come through the bottom. Things like that caught people. Was it Brock and Big Show? Who broke the ring?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are the moments that stand out to me, because I think everybody's always going to try, and that's what I hope doesn't happen. People try to make oh my gosh moments. It's the ones that you don't try for, the ones that come naturally, that people go wow. So my favorites are always the ones that make me go, you know, wow. There's some incredible, you know, Snuka off the cage is a moment.
Oh, yeah, with Don Morocco.
Yeah.
That Madison Square Garden, that was an excellent, which I was going to tell my son about that, you know, about Jimmy Snuka. He jumped off a 15-foot high steel cage on Don Morocco. A splash. You remember that, right?
I mean, the first time people ever saw that, and they came unglued. And that was the oh my gosh moment where everybody went, one, I don't want to jump that high. What do I have to do to beat that? So, by Uncle Jimmy doing those things, it opened the door for us to be, to doing more. But those are the things that I find cool.
One of the shocking moments I saw in wrestling was
when Hulk
when
Hogan
Hulk Hogan turned heel. It caught the attention of everybody. Like, I was a huge Hulk Hogan fan. Still to this day, I'm a huge fan.
But the way
it happened,
it just
pretty much caught everybody by surprise. Holy crap! Like, we didn't think this man was actually going to turn heel or was sustained the frame, taking vitamins and training.
Yeah.
How was the atmosphere backstage in WCW at the time when that happened?
I think it was the same as the people on screen because, we're still in a time in the business where not everybody knew everything. There wasn't, the spoilers, and there wasn't the, as people started to call in and, because now you got guys who are behind the scenes and calling in and giving up things that are happening, and guess who's at the show, and guess who's waiting in a bus, and guess who's hiding, and we didn't have all those things. So we were at a point then where you were still watching the show to see where they were going to go with this. I mean, you always had a wonder about what was going to happen, but what's the old? If you can work the locker room as much as you can, the public, you're really doing good. And so that was the thing. So that night when Hulk, jumped to the dark side, a lot of people in the back were like, "Wow, we didn't see that coming." So, I think it's great. Change is great as long as it sparks momentum, and change is good. And then the other part, the bad part about change is, like, get to the NWO, and as you go, then it's black and red, black and white. Cruiserweight NWO, Latino NWO, this NWO. All of a sudden, everybody's NWO, so now the NWO is not cool anymore. So that's the other side of that thing for me. But as far as going back to when Hogan flipped, I thought it was great. I know it pissed people off, and I know people weren't expecting it, and it generated business, and it made people come back and watch again.
That was definitely good for business, and that's what got the Monday Night Wars in gear.
Yeah.
Once I saw that first show of Monday Night Raw, I'm like, wow, like, WWE got some competition. Like, this is going to be insane with this organization. And they kicked their behind for 83 straight weeks.
Yeah, man.
So that was pretty impressive. And at the time, I enjoyed the WWE brand, but I also enjoyed the NWO faction and everything. Everybody else was going on, with yourself in the mix with that, having all these battles with the Full Horsemen and the Dungeon of Doom
and stuff like
that.
So
it was impressive.
Yeah, and people were trying. It was a time in the locker room where everybody in the locker room was at least trying to pitch an idea of how to get involved, or, hey, what if we do this, and what if it made everybody start thinking again, and how do I get involved in this and get on the gravy train. But I was always a big fan of watching that stuff and going, okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Well,
Mr. Demont,
has been an absolute pleasure.
Man, my honor
having you on the show, sir.
If you don't mind,
my co-host and I asked if you could just share our input out there to the talent all over the wrestling world. This is what our podcast is about. We
show the world
about professional wrestling, independent wrestling, any type of wrestling all over the world.
You got it, man. I'll pass the word along, and again, I'll say it again, like I said at the beginning. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate guys like yourself and your son, just fans of it, and I love fans of the business who are fans of the business. And I love listening to you when I was trying to sign in, and for sure I'll pass it along, and keep up the great work. I appreciate what you guys are doing, and then I hope somewhere down the road we meet face to face and we can have another conversation.
Absolutely,
sir. It's a pleasure, and keep up the great work, sir. That means a lot coming from you, sir.
Thank you, brother. Be well. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You too. Take care.
Fans, Bill Demont, former WWE and WCW superstar. We had an excellent conversation
about Jaden. You mentioned about Andre the Giant getting body slammed by Hulk Hogan. phenomenal slam at WrestleMania 3. Now, the Montreal Screwjob. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series 1997. Shawn Michaels and WWE screwed Bret Hart when he lost that match in the sharpshooter. Do you remember that? When he lost in really bad fashion. That was terrible. That was terrible. To this day, I can still think about that moment as a shocking moment in WWE. Which other moment can you think about?
This is coming from the indie promotions when Adam Rose had his last match.
Oh, that was crazy.
Yeah.
He fought Bull James and he lost the Atomic Next Level Championship to Bull James. He retired at Atomic Revolutionary Wrestling. I was there. We were there.
Both there, yeah.
We saw it. The man he was great talent. WWE dropped the ball with this man, and I wish we could have seen more of him in WWE, but they just didn't let him go through. Another shocking moment when Mick Foley won the WWE title on Monday Night Raw. That's what shifted the Monday Night War. When Tony Schiavone announced that he was going to win the title on Monday Night Raw, that's when everybody tuned into WWE. And that's when everything fell downhill from there for WCW. That was another shocking moment, as well as a lot of people are talking about that Kofi Kingston was the first WWE heavyweight champion, the first world heavyweight champion as African American. No. Ron Simmons was the first ever world heavyweight champion in WCW when he beat Big Van Vader. You know, so it's hard for people to say when it comes to stuff like that, you know, what can you do? But it's crazy. Also, we just got a comment. When the Radicals showed up, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, and Saturn. That was a shocking moment that they came to Monday Night Raw. They were in the stands and they actually came to WWE. That was shocking. When you talk about significant moments, my one that stands out was the birth of WrestleMania. The first ever WrestleMania that many fans thought that it was going to be sabotaged, but it came through and actually made an impact in professional wrestling. So I was shocked. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy every single WrestleMania. And come this year's WrestleMania coming up in 2020, we're thinking of going to Tampa Bay, Florida, to see WrestleMania. Well, fans, this is it for our show. As always, I welcome back my co-host. It was a pleasure having him on the show again. Next week's topic, fans. The best of the independent wrestling. We're going to be talking about independent wrestling all over the world. Same time, Friday, 8 p.m. As always, as you see our new shirts, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. As well, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, email us at evolutionofprowrestling@gmail.com. For myself, Lewis, and my co-host Jaden, and always my producer and director, my lovely wife, Yesenia, thank you for watching and thank you for the support, fans. Have a good night.